Assalamualaikum everyone. I'd like to share with you this chapter 2. If you still remember, we have done overview before the chapter 1 that I shared with you. So I'd like to continue. This is about the non-organizational or non-governmental organization theories. So our learning objective today is at the end of this, you should explain the stakeholder theory, explain the law of unintended consequences. So there are only two learning objectives of our topic today. So once again, you'll be able to explain the stakeholder theory and explain the law of unintended consequences. So we move on. So what about this stakeholder theory? So according to Freeman, in his research in 2010, the stakeholder theory defines as the stakeholders as all individuals who can either affect or be affected by the business endeavor. So that's according to Freeman. And this theory operates on the assumption that the interests, needs, and opinions of the different stakeholders group are unparalleled. So this is more on the definition according to Freeman. So once again, stakeholders as well as the individuals who can either affect or be affected by the business endeavor. Then this theory is also a view of capitalism that stresses the interconnectedness, relationships between the business and the customers. So take note of this theory, the relationship of the business between business, its customers, the suppliers, the employers, employees, then investors, communities, and other who have a stake in the organization. So this is more on the stakeholder theory. Now you have an idea about this theory. So take note that there are big five of the stakeholder theory. This theory argues that a firm should create a value of all stakeholders, not just as stakeholders, but take note on this big five stakeholders. As I mentioned in the previous slide, there are five. Take note, baka lalabas din ito sa ating exam. The customers, second, the employees, the third, suppliers, then the communities, then the investors. So these are the big five stakeholder theory. So big five. So once again, customers, employees, suppliers, communities, and the investors. So don't forget on that. Lalabas talaga yan in our quizzes and our examination. Then there are also six basic principles when they talk about stakeholder theory. So the first is the entry and exit. The second, the governance. I think you know that very well. Then the externalities, the contra cost, the agencies, and the limited immortality. So yun yung the principles of this so-called stakeholder theory. Entry and exit, when you talk about the business, then how they govern, the governance, then the outside externalities, tinitingnan yung sa labas. Yung kontrata, then what about the principle of agency, and then the limited immortality. So walang mga masisira na mga regarding sa business. So the main objective of the stakeholder theories are they claim management has only one responsibility. So take note this main objective. They claim that the management has only one responsibility, make money for the stakeholders. So that's it, huh? Make money for the stakeholders. That's one claim of the main objective of this stakeholders theory, to make money for the shareholders. So we mentioned the big five, so don't forget that one. Then although this is convenient for managers and it destroys reality, that is both legally and morally. Yun yung punto. Then fosters a worldview where managers do not see themselves as a moral agents responsible to wide array of groups for their actions. The stakeholder theory is a doctrine that ensures companies as organizations are accountable to their stakeholders. The balance, divergence, interest between the stakeholders. So that's why one responsibility of their claim is to make money. Then there are three aspects of this theory. Take note what are the three aspects. Instrumental power, the discrepancy, accuracy, and the normative validity. That's more on the aspects of this theory. Instrumental, descriptive accuracy, as well as the normative validity. So that's the three. Now, that there are types of the stakeholders theory. First is the internal. You know, by the word internal, stakeholders operate within the company. So within the company, the internal stakeholders. Like lump sum, they have their stakeholders within the company. May mga internal dyan. The employees, the managers, of course, the business owners, and the shareholders. So that's why may mga company, may corporation, incorporation, not only the business owners, may mga shareholders din yan. So these are the external stakeholders, internal stakeholders. Once again, the employees, the managers, the business owners, then the shareholders. So these are the four types of that's the inclusion of these internal stakeholders. Then the second type of the stakeholders, of course, the external. You know the internal. Now the external stakeholders they're not part of the company, but they are affected by the company's action. That's why take note on this, the 7 dimensions. They call it the 7 C's of these external holders. So once again, they are not part of the company because kaya external nga. So take note, those who are not part of the company, they call it the 7 dimensions or 7 C's. The customers, of course, alam niyo yan. The competitors, so in a company, in a business, may kompetensya talaga. The capabilities, of course. Then capital. Then what about the channel? That's the number 5. The communication. Then the coordination. That's from the outside because it is the external stakeholders. Now you know the two, the internal as well as the external stakeholders. So once again, balikan natin itong sabi natin yan. The 4 internal, the employees, the managers, the business owners, the shareholders. Then while the internal, there are 7 dimensions, 7 C's. Customers, competitors, capabilities, capital, channels, communication, and coordination. So that's very clear with these two types of stakeholders, the internal and the external. Then under external, higher productivity through employee satisfaction. So yun yung isa sa aim din nila. Improve retention, referrals from the happy customers. That's why from the external, para ituloy-tuloy nila ang kanilang engagement of that business. Then the increased investment from happy financiers. Then involved talent acquisition from the positive image in the community. So yun yung gusto sa mga external stakeholders. So the main characteristic of the stakeholder theory, the main feature of the stakeholder approach is to attract the various legal groups of people who have a legal interest in the corporation so that company's wealth can be increased. And there are also advantages and the disadvantages of this so-called stakeholders theory. Business experience, then the internal stakeholders with a large vested interest in a business often sit on the board of directors. So may mga ano yan sa the hierarchy. Okay, may chart who are the board of the directors. So the disadvantage is representing own interest. Yan, disadvantage yan. Like, I am the owner, so I have my own vested interest. The advantage naman, anticipate potential problems. Kung may nakikita, especially to the externals, so yun yung tinitingnan din. Then the block progress, that's also another disadvantage of these stakeholders theory. Kumbaga, block progress sila lang yung mayaman. although tinitingnan yung kapakanan sa labas, pero in general, because of that vested interest, sila lang ang nakikinabang in general. Okay, that's clear. Then some criticize stakeholders' theory, claiming that the interests of the group are just too broad to realistically manage. You can please everyone, as the saying goes, and the needs of some stakeholders will naturally place higher than the interests of others. So yun din yung mga criticism. Okay, may mga interest, kanya-kanya yan. Kaya nga, sabi nga, since you cannot please everyone, as the saying goes, and the needs of some stakeholders will naturally place higher than the interests of the others. Same is true. The small example here in the classroom. I cannot please everyone. Some of you do not like your teachers, some you like your teachers. But as the saying goes, I cannot please everyone as your teacher. But as much as possible, I have to teach, I have to share with you my knowledge so that in fairness, you will also learn. Okay? Sige. So now, the second objective, take note on this, the law of unintended consequences is a frequently observed phenomenon in which any action has results that are not part of the actor's purpose. Then the superfluous consequences may or may not be foreseeable or even immediately observable, and they may be beneficial, harmful, or neutral in their impact. So that's more on unintended consequence. May mga ganun talaga in a company na business or in an organization. Kaya nga, sinasabi, unintended consequences are the result of an action that differ from expected outcome. Yung hindi mo inaasahan ba? Ito yung expectation mo, pero hindi mo usahan, iba yung resulta. Kaya nga, this is unintended consequences, the law of unintended consequences. Then, as organization, dapat alam niyo yan. Kayo, here in the school, you have the peace organization in the undergraduate. Then you, mga leaders, may mga mayor kayo, may mga representative. If there are programs, then may expectation ka. But always remember, in that organization, take note of these unintended consequences as the result of an action that differ from expected outcome. And I think that's clear. So as the name implies, these consequences are not the intended outcome. Kaya nga, unintended. Kasi yung bang hindi mo gustong mangyayari ito. Pero nangyayari yan. Okay? Then unintended consequences can be either positive or negative. Yan. It can be positive because this, sabi nga, there is always room for improvement. Suppose if you have program in your organization, hindi mo in-expect nangyari ito, so better luck next time. You have to improve. Kaya nga in every program, in every activities, in all this, there is always the so-called evaluation. So that's very, very important. Then doon mo makita, positive, okay. Negative, ito man yung hindi natin ina-expect sa susunod, gagawa tayo ng mas maganda pa. So that the general public, for the welfare of the people, maganda yung kalalabasan. Kaya nga sinasabi, there is always two sides of the coin. The hari at saka patay. So, hindi nga sinasabi, hindi araw-araw Pasko. May kalungkutan din mangyayari. Okay, that's clear. That's why, ulitin natin, this is an unintended consequences. The result of an action that differ from the expected outcome. As the name implies, these consequences are not the intended outcome of the action taken. Unintended consequence can be either positive or negative. So now you know. So there are three types of unintended consequences. Take note on this. On the positive aspect, the unintended positive consequence, there where the outcome was not unexpected but turned out to be beneficial. Ayan, yun yung kagandahan. So though unintended, pero hindi mo ito ine-expect, pero maganda yung kinalalabasan. Okay pala, hindi natin to naisip, pero maganda palang resulta. Diba? In your organization mismo. Then, unintended negative consequence. Ito naman sa negative consequence, where the outcome was not expected, but turned out to have a negative impact. Halaka, hindi man natin ito inaasahan pero nangyari. So, very negative yung impact. But, of course, you have to learn from that. So that there will be room for improvement next time. Then the third is the perverse consequence, where the outcome of the opposite of what you intended, typically negative. Kaya perverse consequence, where the outcomes is the opposite of what you intended, typically negative. So ito yung perverse consequence. Now, the law of unintended consequences, take note, this refers to how economic decisions may have effect that are unexpected. Ayan, unintended consequence nga. Once again, refers to how economic decisions may have effect that are unexpected. Then usually this refers to an economic law which distorts customers or producers' behavior in a way that is not expected. Kaya nga yung ating mga business analysts, alam na alam ito, itong the law of unintended consequence. And why? Dapat ready din sila dito natanggapin ito. But ulitin ko, whether it is negative or positive impact, but remember, there is always room for improvement. Kasi hindi naman lahat positibo yan. Kaya nga sinasabi na may perverse consequence din. Then the difference between the intended or unintended consequence, take note. Intended consequences are both desirable and undesirable, are expected that accounted for. It is an emergence of unintended consequence, especially the adverse consequences, which causes imbalance between maintaining patient privacy and not inhibiting workflows. A good example of the law of unintended consequence is the DDT. This is an acronym, but you know this one, the DDT. This is used to kill insects that eventually gets into birds, making their eggs fragile and affecting production of the healthy young. Kaya nga ito yung when I'm a farmer, my parents are farmers, we use this one DDT in the farm para mapatay yung mga insekto. Okay? So, and I think you can ask from your parents, your grandfather, what is DDT? Alam niyo yan. So ito yung example. Can be desirable or undesirable consequence. Then we have the term traditional public management. This is more on bureaucracy. It has been characterized by high cost of operation, red tape, familiar, favoritism, emphasis on seniority as the basic for promotion, and slow decision making. So yan na, the traditional public management. The high cost of operation, red tape, pabor-pabor, then the emphasis on seniority for the promotion, the slow decision making. So may negative, may positive, itong the traditional. Then public service adopted by Max Weaver according to the bureaucracy model. Then according to in 2016 research, bureaucracy is a system of an organization which is controlled by rules, regulation, hierarchical structure. Okay. There seems to be two problems here with the theory of bureaucracy. The first is the problematic relationship with the democracy. The model arose in the action of the limitation of the old public administration in adjusting to the demands of the competitive market economy. The summary of the key elements of this, the new public management. So the traditional, now we have the new public management according to the study of Osborne in 2006. Then there are, I think, 7. Attention to lessons from private sector management. Then the growth, both hands-on management and its own right, and not as an offshoot of the professionalism and of the arm's length organizations, which where policy implementation of the organization distance from the policy maker as opposed to the interpersonal and distancing the policy of the administration split. So this is under the new public management. Then the third is focus upon the entrepreneurial leadership within the service of organization. The fourth is an emphasis on input and output control and evaluation, on performance management and audit. So this is more on money. Then the disaggregation of public services to their most basic units and focus on their cost management. And the next, the growth of the use of market competition and contracts for resource allocation and services delivery within the public service. So this is more on the new public management. Then, following the changing role of the state and growing demands of the good governance globally, the new public management paradigm emerged to implant a new approach into the traditional public management. Okay, ulitin natin. Alam niyo itong traditional public management, pabor-pabor, seniority for promotion, etc. Ngayon, may bago na paradigm, the new public management. It calls for the reduction in the inclusion reliance of public bureaucracy for the service delivery and advocates instead of the increased use to the private sectors and the non-governmental organization as alternative mechanisms of delivery. Then this new public management advocates the debureaucratization. Nakita nyo, parang yung traditional public management, binago. Dapat hindi na very bureaucratic yung dating, hindi na. Offloading, downsizing, and right-sizing the public bureaucracy. Greater realities on the private sectors, service delivery through contracting out and outsourcing, then private partnership, competition and reliance on market forces, and creation of the enabling environment with the growth of private enterprise, and it advocates empowering rather than serving, decentralization, public participation, citizen empowerment, innovation and public modern information and communication technology, and e-government. So malaking pagbabago when we talk about the new public management. Kaya nga parang debureaucratization, parang sinisira yung the traditional public management. Okay? I think malinaw yan. Then we have the so-called organizational efficiency. What about this? This organization's degree of success in using the least possible inputs in order to produce the highest possible outputs. So least possible inputs in order to produce the highest possible outputs. That's more on the organizational efficiency from the word efficiency. Then organization can gauge efficiency by analyzing, take note we can measure efficiency by analyzing the resources, the time, and the cost. So when we talk about the resource efficiency, you use your organization resources effectively to maximize the waste. Okay, kaya nga resources. Then what about the time efficiency? Refers to the achieving goals within the set time frame or sooner. Kaya nga in every project, in an organization, may time frame talaga yan, may ginagawa talaga yan. Halimbawa yung project proposal, anong time frame? Halimbawa sa flood control, may time frame yan na may problema ngayon na hindi natatapos. Then they have the cost efficiency, the focus on the delivering services inexpensively and generates the profit. So take note the three gauge efficiency, the resources, the time, and the cost. So malinaw yan in an organizational efficiency. So lalabas yung tatlo sa exam, sa quiz, at least alam na alam ninyo. Then we have the competition drives non-profit organization to compete against others who provide similar services from same funding pools. Within a policy context of competitive tendering for the welfare funding, non-profits are forced to compete with private service providers in their traditional domains, a practice that reduces revenues which previously financed in the sector. So that's according to the study of Alexander na in 1999. So matagal-tagal yung study na binanggit niya. So with that, I hope you learned something. God bless everyone. Prepare for our quiz. Next meeting, kung may face-to-face tayo, but for the meantime, ito lang muna with our lecture. Okay? So, thank you. God bless everyone. Dalaygon ang Diyos.